Здравствуйте, Moscow. And here we are in a, wow, this is quite a momentous day. 4 years after the start of the special military operation. We are here in Moscow at the TASS studios. We are the international arm, in fact, of the National Unity Club. And it's my immense joy and honor to be side by side in such a momentous day with the one and only George Galloway. George, welcome to Moscow.
You are the one and only Pepe Escobar. I mean, it's an honor to be in your presence, but to be on a television show featuring just both you and I is a special honor. You're right, it is a very auspicious day on the Russian front, on the Eastern front, but on the Asian front, on the Persian Gulf front, it might be the most momentous day of all. At least according to John Kiriakou, the CIA whistleblower, highly respected commentator, his sources in the White House tell him that today is the day. It probably won't turn out to be the day. It'll probably be tomorrow or next week. But the fact that we are talking in hours and days is, I think, extremely significant. Now, there might be an off-ramp that we don't know about, but on the face of it, if you move 50% of your entire Air Force into the Persian Gulf, if you move not one, but two, but three, although one of them is leaking ordure, as the French call it. I'm not sure if I should say the word in English, but the toilets are not working on the third of the aircraft carriers, which might be debilitating, at least for the sailors involved. But when you move not one, not two, but three aircraft carrier strike groups into the Persian Gulf or its approaches, it's clear that you are up to something no good. And that no good might well turn out, Pepe, to be the mother of all wars.
What's your gut feeling tell you, George, way beyond the geopolitical analysis, with your vast international experience especially, and you know how those cycles in the Beltway think, right?
Yes, and I think that's partly the problem. This is a controversial view, but I don't think that Trump actually wants to start a war with Iran. I think his gut tells him that no good could come of it, and that any good that did come of it, from his point of view, would be at such vastly disproportionate cost, not just to him, but to his benefactors in the Persian Gulf. Don't forget, Donald Trump himself personally left with a 747 laden with diamonds and pearls the last time he was there. His own son-in-law is into the family businesses of the Persian Gulf to the tune of billions. He's managing billions of dollars for them. So from the Trump family business point of view, never mind America's point of view, there's a lot at stake for them. So I hold the, potentially controversial view that Trump does not want to do this. The question is, will Netanyahu allow him not to do it? Because he's the man calling the shots in Washington, don't you think?
Absolutely. And the craziest thing in this enormous kabuki, a tragicomic kabuki, in fact, is that the President of the United States boxed himself in. He's between an ultra-heavy rock and a very, very hard place. And there's no plan C out of that.
It's difficult to see an off-ramp. We have a nursery rhyme in English, the grand old Duke of York, about him more later, Prince Andrew. The grand old Duke of York had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again.
Down again.
And Trump is now in that place. How's he going to explain the vast expenditure of moving such an armada into the Persian Gulf, only not to use it? Now, one must hope that some diplomatic off-ramp presents itself, a form of words that would allow Trump to claim victory, even implausibly, but claim victory, and he can do that. You know, he can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. He's capable of declaring victory in almost any circumstances. But his critics, Lindsey Graham and the rest, not to mention Netanyahu, will punish him severely if he doesn't make use of this moment. Because, Pepe, I'm of the view that if not now, it's never. Because Donald Trump has the World Cup coming up in the summer. He's not going to launch the mother of all wars in the middle of the World Cup. And then he's got the midterm elections, which is virtually certain to lose. And thereafter, he'll be fighting impeachment proceedings on a daily basis. So a window exists, and it will close very soon. It's a tall order to get Iran done before June, and I don't believe it will be done before June of the year of my death. It will be a long war if it begins. But if he's going to do it, he kind of has to do it now. At least that's what Netanyahu will be telling him.
But if he does it, and correct me if I'm wrong, George, 70% of American public opinion is against yet another unprovoked war. And this is totally unprovoked because they are, once again, in the middle of negotiation. They're going back to Geneva within the next few days. Arakchi, the foreign minister of Iran, is a very tough and very cold and fair negotiator. He said, look, we are negotiating a possibility in terms of uranium enrichment. That's it. There's no other dossier. And there are possibilities. And he was slightly optimistic the last time he was out in public. So in the middle of negotiations, they're going to start a war. Okay, they've done it before. It's their modus operandi, right? But from the point of view of a megalomaniac, narcissist cycle, and I'm not being diplomatic anymore about Trump, is he going to sabotage his own midterms and condemn himself to be a lame tariff duck for 2 years?
Yeah, it depends what the Israelis have got on him, doesn't it?
And we know they have it.
It depends
right?
what how bad the Epstein files are.
They
especially
are
the 3,300,000 pages that have not yet been released, and the unknown number of pages that we now know from the FBI were distributed across the country in safe storage depots, and they could, of course, contain the metaphorical nuclear bombs.
Exactly.
You're right about the public opinion in the U.S., except you've underestimated it. It's 80% of the American public are against a war with Iran. And the negotiations part, well, I'm old enough, and you're almost old enough to remember when Nixon and Kissinger were lying through their teeth to the Vietnamese throughout the negotiations in Paris.
Exactly.
For which Kissinger got a Nobel Peace Prize. But if he can get one, Donald Trump might have some hope still. It is their modus operandi, and they did it most recently in the 12-day war. They were negotiating then, and they still launched the war. You're right. I mean, this is surreal. Donald Trump said just a few months ago that he had totally obliterated the Iranian nuclear capacity. Now he's saying we've got to go to war to obliterate it again. Was he lying then, or is he lying now? Of course, the answer is he's lying all the time. You know that because his lips are moving. But the truth is, everything depends on what the Israelis have got on him. Now, I am in no doubt whatsoever that Donald Trump is heavily compromised. How could it be otherwise? Trump and Epstein were closer even than you and me. And unlike you and me, they were always in each other's company.
In George's company, and in parties all the time, partying all the time, literally.
Partying
Yeah.
all the time. We know the moral character of both men. Even Donald Trump wouldn't claim otherwise about his moral character. He himself said he doesn't think he'll be going to heaven. Spoiler alert, I don't think you will either, Donald. So if the two of them were together all that time, over decades, and we know their moral character, it's inconceivable to me that Trump has not done at least some of the things that we now know Jeffrey Epstein was doing. So if he did, then the film exists to prove it.
To prove it.
Because Epstein was an espionage operation for the American deep state, for the Israelis, and maybe for others, who knows? Seems to me he was a bit of a gun for hire. But whatever way you dice it, there's compromising material on Trump. And there's Iranian hackers, by the way, say they have 10 videos that they're going to release immediately an attack on Iran begins. So, I mean, you made the best point so far. He backed himself into all of this. There was no need to. He could have said, the nuclear file, shred it. I've solved it. I obliterated it. But he's now resurrected a non-existent threat. But isn't there a point in you and I discussing this? Kim Jong-un was just, surprise, unanimously re-elected as General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea. It was a splendid setting, I must say. And Pyongyang is looking like Pyonghatan.
Literally.
It really is. So you can see why he was re-elected. But there's no aircraft carriers off the coast of North Korea. There's nobody threatening Kim Jong-un.
Absolutely.
The world is not ever going to make a military intervention against North Korea. Why? Because North Korea has weapons of mass destruction. Why don't the Iranians?
That's an excellent question, George, if you allow me, because it goes right to the heart of Shiite theology. It's something that, as a student, I had to study and I had to learn at least the basics since I started going to Iran relatively often. And that started during the Khatami era. So I had to interview ayatollahs. I had to understand what the concept of vilayat-e-faqih meant, the rule of the jurisprudent. So I had to have theological discussions about Shiism. So you learn a lot, especially when you go to Qom and you visit the Quranic schools. They are willing to talk to you and explain to you, and they answer all your questions. They are quite open, especially when they see a foreigner that is interested in Shiism. For instance, it was circulating in Washington these past few days that Trump is stunned that Iran has not capitulated. Obviously, if he had among his very mediocre inner circle anybody who had an inkling of how Shiism works, they could explain that to him in 10 minutes. It's impossible. So it was up to Arakshi, the Iranian foreign minister, to say, of course, we are Iranians. Just look at our history. It's all there, and especially the history of Shiism. And the heart of the Islamic Revolution, in fact, was something that very few people in the West ignore. It was a mix of the cult of martyrdom and the idea of resistance in Shiism, and that we need to defend ourselves because we know we are right, but also a very strong anti-colonial sentiment. So it was a mix of religion and the fight against European, Western colonialism. That was the embryo of the Iranian Revolution. There are immense problems, of course. It's not a matter of defending the system in Iran, no. It's a matter of understanding. The Americans never try even to understand why there was a revolution and why it's still there after 47 years. And why it's still popular in virtually every Iranian province that you go. You know, in Sistan, Baluchistan in the southeast, near Pakistan. In Khuzestan, where a lot of people speak Arabic. In the Azerbaijani part of Iran. It's popular. And in central Iran, in the deserts of central Iran. It's still very popular, with all the mistakes that they made, of course. So it comes back once again to the whole rationale of demonizing Iran for 47 years. First of all, because they lost the gendarme of the Gulf, the previous Shah. Now they have the clown Shah in exile in Maryland, pontificating about, I'm going to return. Yeah. And of course, Israel. Because the embryo of this situation that led Trump to box himself in is the three diktats that did not come from Trump. They came from Israel. The diktats were no nuclear enrichment, number one. Number two, the ballistic missile program reduced to minimalistic levels. And number three, end of any support to the axis of resistance. Hezbollah, militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, everybody else. This not, Trump doesn't even know that the axis of resistance exists. He doesn't know what BRICS is. He doesn't know what the global south means.
No.
Exactly. So
he thinks Spain is in BRICS.
Spain is in BRICS. He said it himself.
Them. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. This brilliant description is, of course, at the heart of the matter, because if the Iranian masses, and they are 90 million people, were genuinely against the state and the system, we'd know about it. We'd see uprisings in every part of the country. Mm-hmm. And those uprisings would be much larger than the demonstrations in support of the regime. Mm-hmm. That's what happens. You and I have seen dozens, scores of regimes come and go. Mm-hmm. But of course, they think, Western analysts think, that Iran is the lobby of the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Tehran.
Exactly.
And speaks English.
It speaks English, exactly. Yeah.
The truth is, most Iranians have never been to Tehran, they've never been to the Intercontinental Hotel, and they can't speak English. Mm-hmm. So this Islamic depth and nationalist depth, you're right, it's often an underestimated point. The Iranians have quite a high opinion of themselves, as well they might.
And they might.
They had a civilization when the United States was thousands of years from coming into existence.
Exactly.
And in Britain, we were painting our faces blue and living in the forest. And the Iranian Empire, the Persian Empire, was, by all historical accounts, rather well ruling most of the known world.
Yes.
So this is a sophisticated, civilizational force being opposed by an orangutan, an orange orangutan,
exactly.
Threatening them, bludgeoning them. And he can't understand why they haven't capitulated. Well, they haven't capitulated because they are Iranians. Exactly. As you say, as Arakji said,
he went straight to the point.
We are Iranians, that's why we haven't capitulated. And, well, look, we've got this irresistible force, immovable object here, don't we? The Iranians are not going to back down. I laugh at Witkoff, this envoy that they've got in the area. He clearly doesn't understand the first thing about Shiism, which is built on martyrdom.
Yes.
I mean, they literally excoriate themselves every year at Ashura, in memory of Imam Hussein's martyrdom 1,000 years ago. And the idea that they're going to be frightened by the prospects of death at the hands of the great Satan, which of course for them is a ticket to paradise. Were that to happen, they'll be sitting with God instantaneously. Now, how do you frighten someone who believes like that, who believes as strongly as that? The answer is you can't, you won't, and they're not frightened. So what's Trump going to do?
George, if you allow me, that was wonderful because you totally, once again, you reframed it straight to the point, the ethics of Shiism, and linked to the glorious past of the Persian Empire, Persian dynasties, and Persian civilization. It happens now that the nation state of Iran, which is sovereign, one of the very few sovereigns in the world, they are being supported in different levels that we see, and especially that we don't see, by two other civilization states, Russia and China. So if there is an attack on Iran, and I'd like to see your geopolitical analysis, this will be an attack against three top BRICS at the same time. Not only Iran, but the strategic partnership linked Russia and China, which are helping Iran not only diplomatically, but with military hardware and software. A lot of stuff we already know. Radars, research, the Chinese satellite system Beidou, which is now interlinked, the Iranians are interlinked with Beidou, real-time information on the movement of the US Navy in the Arabian Sea, because the Americans are too cowardly to be in the Sea of Oman, because then they will be within range and in front of Chinese territory. They are, let's say, far away from Pakistani territory in the Arabian Sea. So, does Trump and especially the Trump 2.0 circle, do they have any idea that they will be fighting against three BRICS? And not only that, against the whole global South, because the whole global South supports Iran now because they know that this is another unprovoked war. Do people in D.C. have any idea what they're
Well, I think
up against?
Vice President J.D. Vance definitely
apparently
does.
A little bit, nah?
Yeah.
Vance.
And DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, strongly does. In fact, she is the strongest opponent of an attack on Iran in all of America. And that's why she's not in the room. Imagine having a director of national intelligence, a person of Tulsi Gabbard's stature, who literally is not in the room. She's not invited to the meetings. But Vance can't be excluded, and he's against it too. But the others, perhaps not including all of the military top brass, are gung-ho for it. Marco Rubio in particular. He's another one who is in hock to the Israel lobby. So I think not enough of them understand the significance, the apple that they're about to bite into, where it might lead them, to perdition, perhaps, to the ending of Rubio or Vance's presidential ambitions. If the Democrats pick the right person, and going on their track record, they probably won't, but if they did pick the right person, I would have thought the Republicans will be out, having lost perhaps both houses this November. And with the congressional power reopening the Epstein files to isolate and destroy Trump and his faction. But going back to the Gulf, it seems to me, as George W. Bush might put it, they have misunderestimated Iran. They don't seem to realize that not everyone is going to capitulate. And not everyone has powerful friends like Iran does. As you say, we don't know the extent of Russian and Chinese cooperation, but we must imagine that it is substantial. We don't know what Russia and China will do if Iran is attacked, but it's likely that as pillars of the BRICS, they won't take it lying down. Now, of course, Russia has its hands full, and we'll come to it in a minute. The special military operation, Russia has its hands full. But maybe this will be the moment when China will walk onto the world stage and show us its stick. It habitually and culturally appropriately feigns inferiority.
Exactly.
It walks and talks quietly on the world stage. But given China knows that it is the ultimate objective of American hegemonic power, well, they are going to have to step up sometime. And it might just be that Iran is. Look, the elephant in the room here, Pepe, is the implosion in Venezuela.
Yes.
Where many of these arguments also obtained, but where nothing happened except a disguised and quiet surrender to American power. Russia did nothing, China did nothing, the Venezuelan government did nothing, the president is in the penitentiary in New York,
Right.
and business as usual is being restored in Venezuela. Their problem in Iran is they don't have a compliant comprador in Iran that is capable of taking power. They have lesbians, feminists, LGBTQ plus liberals, and they're a substantial number.
Yes.
And God bless their cotton socks, but they're not genuine contenders for power in Iran.
No, they're not.
That you can build a counter-revolution around. Unlike Venezuela, the Iranians will fight. They have absolutely no alternative but to fight. From their point of view, if they're going down, it's a big if, but if they're going down, it will be with all guns blazing. And they have plenty of guns.
And they have plenty of guns, exactly. And with the mindset of Imam Ali and Imam Hussein, they are not afraid.
They're not afraid.
They will never be afraid.
No. It's a remarkable thing to meet people who are not afraid of death. I dare say the Americans have never met such a person before.
No.
Because
in fact, they did, the Vietnamese.
Yes.
And they never learned their Vietnamese
They
lessons.
never learned their, and of course Trump failed to show up in Vietnam with five deferments because of his bone spurs. He's had bad ankles, but he's been disco dancing and golfing ever since. Let's turn, Pepe, to the
SMO.
To the SMO.
Yes.
My question to kick this off to you would be, why is it taking so long?
This would be the question that I would pose. Okay, I also pose this question to you, and I would love to hear your analysis. It was supposed to last a few weeks. Then they had to reconstitute the whole operation, which we can say in retrospect was poorly planned. And their intelligence was not up to par. And their cells in Kiev, they didn't have the full information. So if we want to be very, very harsh, part of the blame lies at the SVR, Russian Foreign Intelligence. They didn't get all their facts right at the time. So they had to recondition the SMO. And now it is essentially a counter-terrorist operation because this system in Kiev is a criminal organization. And now we have proved by defectors, I interviewed one of them here last week, for instance, by people who know how the system works in Kiev. It's a criminal organization, and they need to perpetuate the war, because if the war ends, they end as an organization. And they could have a Hitler or Mussolini ending like Medvedev said 2 or 3 days ago. Well,
he's
you can always expect
he's always
something
colorful and candid.
He's always colorful, right? But why it took so long? Of course, don't forget, the Russians are fighting the whole of NATO, the whole collective West, by themselves. So that's quite something. And NATO has thrown everything and 10 million kitchen sinks against them, and nothing stuck. But now it's getting to I would say, a much more worrying frame. The whole, what's happening in the battlefield and this kabuki of negotiations, which are de facto leading nowhere, because they are attacking vital installations inside the Russian Federation. Like the latest attack This was probably the ultimate red line. They attack a vital node of producing Russian ballistic missiles, and with the British missile, essentially, the Flamingo. The Flamingo was invented or reconditioned based on Ukrainian designs by an Emirati British company. It's being manufactured in Denmark and then transferred to Ukraine. So this is a NATO operation. And let's say this is the ersatz Tomahawk or the Tomahawk substitute. We all remember during the Biden administration the Tomahawk controversy. So now they have a British-style Tomahawk in possession of the Ukrainians that they can launch against any strategic installation inside the Russian Federation. If this is not a red line, what is it? Okay, this happened only a few days ago. We don't know how the Russian administration is going to respond. But all red lines have been completely smashed. So what next? When will the Oreshniks distribute their business cards to the usual suspects, not only in Kiev, but in other parts of NATO? Would this be the start of an overall, a big war? Yes, it could be.
Well,
but the Russians are ready for it.
And of course, there are no strategic arms limitations
No, there's
nowadays.
No more. Exactly.
And no rules that are normal rules that are being obeyed. Well, that's of course a very plausible set of reasons why it's lasted for 4 years. I'll give you another one. You see, the Russians don't hate the Ukrainians at all.
They don't. They're cousins.
If they had wanted to, Kiev could have looked like Gaza within days. But they didn't want that. They want the opposite of that. They, if not the Ukrainians, although many Ukrainians, I think, in their hearts feel the same, they regard Ukraine as part of them, and they as part of Ukraine. The Empress used to sit in Kiev. Exactly. Catherine the Great constructed Odessa.
Exactly.
The intermarriage, interrelationship, common language. Most Ukrainians speak Russian, of course. Even Zelenskyy made a living speaking.
His
singing,
Ukrainian is lousy compared to his Russian.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's hard to wage a civil war when you don't hate your adversary, when you want to save as many and as much of your adversary as possible. It's very difficult to prosecute the war with the ruthlessness that would have been required to bring it to an end more quickly. But I suppose that's all spilt milk. When is it going to end, in your view? Well,
I remember when was Shoigu, when he was still at the Ministry of Defense, he said would end in 2025. Now, it didn't. And now we're listening. If we're listening carefully to what Ryabkov and Lavrov are saying, they are not diplomatic anymore. They are both saying the war will be decided in the battlefield. This coming from the top diplomat on the planet, Sergei Lavrov, which until a year or so ago was very, okay, negotiations is possible, etc. Not anymore. Especially after these attacks inside the Russian Federation, including the 91 drone attack on part of the nuclear triad, including one of the residents of the president of Russia later last year, and now this attack against the production of ballistic missiles. This is beyond serious. This is beyond any red line that Putin himself established. So these past few days in Moscow, I heard dissenting voices. And this is an extremely touchy subject because issues of national security, military, they cannot be discussed openly in Russia. So this is a fact. It's not an accusation, it's a fact. But they should be discussed in the public arena because in Moscow and in St. Petersburg, there's a lot of dissatisfaction with the war. And it's the usual rationale. It's been taking too long. Why don't they go for the head of the snake? Will we have to wait for another 2 years? Are we really advancing as fast as we should in the battlefield? These questions are swirling around, and there are no easy answers. So from the point of view of a foreigner, you and me, something that strikes me is there is a lack of debate about the war in the public sphere in Russia. And I think this for Russia would be essential, especially now at this moment, after 4 years. This is a landmark. Something needs to change fast, especially because it's quite clear that the United States will not abandon this proxy war against Russia.
That's the key point, I think. The blame for the war lasting this long is the United States. They started it, they funded it, fueled it, armed it, and shielded it, and they are refusing to walk away from it. For all that Trump apparently said in Anchorage in Alaska, and we weren't there and no one's really told us exactly what he said, but we can infer from the comments of the top diplomat in the world, Sergei Lavrov, that they found agreement, but that the Americans have not made that agreement happen.
No follow-up?
No. I mean, Zelenskyy isn't going to make it happen for the reasons you identified. The end of the war is the end of Zelenskyy. The end of the war is the end of his criminal network. The end of the war is the end of the grand larceny of billions of money from all over the world, and including the money that should have been going to help the Ukrainian people. So if Zelenskyy is left to decide, then the war will never end until he's completely militarily vanquished some years down the line, and many hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of more dead people. So really only Trump can end this war without having to fight it to the bitter end. Only Donald Trump can say to Zelenskyy, time's up. I warned you, you had no cards. Your time is up. Go. There's an airplane waiting for you to bring you to Miami. And if you don't get on it, well, pity help you. You'll end up like Mussolini in the public square. If he were to say that, Zelenskyy would be on the plane.
Absolutely, yes.
Because the Europeans can't save him with their comic opera armies, their Gilbert and Sullivan navies. They are... they're all talk, all mouth and no trousers, as we say in England. So if Trump genuinely walked away, it would be the end. Why hasn't he?
My question, to wrap it up, why he cannot walk away, Trump?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I mean, again, is he double dealing? Am I being fooled by his apparent sincerity in wishing to end this war? Because I must tell you, I believed him. I mean, I didn't have a vote, of course, but I would have voted for him in the last presidential election only on the basis that he'd stop the war, because that's what he promised to do. But he hasn't. And it's not looking to me like he's going to. So I'm with Lavrov. It'll be decided on the battlefield. Last word to you.
No, last word to you.
Well, it has been...
It's George and Lavrov coinciding.
It's been the best discussion I've had in a long time.
Thank you so much, George, and thanks to our Russian viewers, international viewers, straight from Moscow at TASS with the invaluable George Galloway. See you next time. Thank you.